Hey, what's up guys? Combat Critic here. In this video, I want to give my picks for this upcoming fight between Vicente Luque and RDA. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the records of these two fighters, starting with Vicente. So he has 31 fights and he's won 21 of his 31 fights, lost 9, and he also has a draw on his record. If we talk about his 21 wins, he has 11 wins via knockout, 8 wins via submission, and just 2 via decision. So this man is a finishing machine. Most of his wins have come via knockout or a submission. If we take a look at his 9 losses, he's lost via KO just once, he's been submitted just twice, and he has 6 losses via decision. So if the fight goes to a decision, his record is not very good. Now let's take a look at RDA's record. So RDA has 46 fights and he's won 32 of his 46 fights and lost 14. If we talk about his 32 wins, he has 5 wins via knockout, 11 via submission, and 16 via decision. So this is opposite to what we saw with Vicente Luque. Vicente has most of his wins via knockouts and then submissions and then very few via decisions, whereas RDA has very few wins via knockout and he has a good number of wins via submission, but most of his wins are via decision. If we talk about his 14 losses, he's been KO'd 4 times, he's never been submitted as a pro, and he has lost 10 fights via decision. Now let's take a look at the physical and career stats of these two guys. Starting with the height, it is 5 feet 11 for Vicente Luque and 5 feet 8 for RDA. So a 3-inch height advantage will go to Vicente Luque. Weight is even at 170 pounds for both these guys. Reach is 76 inches for Luque and it is 70 inches for RDA. So Luque will have a huge 6-inch reach advantage as well. Luque is an orthodox stance fighter, whereas RDA is a southpaw. I don't think either fighter will have a problem with these stances. If we talk about the age, so Luque is the younger fighter and RDA is nearing his 40s. He is, nearing his downfall. We know he is a guy in the welterweight division, and in the smaller divisions, the closer you get to 40, that's when you start losing fights, and that's when start falling out of the rankings. RDA is still not on that stage, but he is reaching that point. He is the older fighter here, and this can play a major factor in deciding this fight. Let's talk about the striking stats now. First up, we have the strikes landed per minute. So this signifies the number of strikes that you land on your opponent per minute on average. This is 5.49 for Vicente Luque and it is 3.56 for RDA. So Vicente will have a significant advantage here. He is landing a lot more significant strikes per minute on his opponents. Next up, we have the striking accuracy, which is 52% for Luque and it is 47% for RDA. So again, the advantage goes to Luque. Now, next up, we have the strikes absorbed per minute. This signifies the number of significant strikes that you absorb from your opponent per minute on average. This is 5.51, pretty high for Luque, and it is 3.21 for RDA. In this case, you want this number to be as low as possible because you are getting hit lesser than your opponent. So in this case, the advantage goes to RDA. Next up, we have the striking defense, 52% for Luque and 61% for RDA. So here the advantage goes to RDA. So overall, the first two metrics that we saw were related to the offensive striking part, whereas the last two are related to the defensive striking. So Luque is a much better offensive striker, whereas RDA is a much better defensive striker. Now let's take a look at the wrestling and grappling statistics. Starting with the takedown average, it is 0.51 for Vicente Luque and it is 2.05, almost 4 times that amount for RDA. So he will have a huge advantage. Next up, the takedown accuracy, it is 50% for Luque and it is 35% for RDA. So while RDA has a higher takedown average, his accuracy is not that good. Here the advantage goes to Luque. Takedown defense is 61% for Vicente Luque and it is 59%. So both these guys are pretty even, but a very slight advantage goes to Luque. Submission average is 0.8 for Vicente Luque, and it is 0.6 for RDA. So RDA, who has more submission wins on his record, has actually a slightly lower submission average than Vicente Luque, and Luque will have a slight advantage here as well. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by position for these two fighters, starting with Vicente Luque. So 88% of all his strikes are in the standing position, just 6% in the clinch and another 6% on the ground. So he doesn't like fighting in the clinch and on the ground. Most of his fights are in the standing position, whereas if we take a look at RDA, so 67% of his significant strikes are from the standing position, 17% from the clinch, and 16% on the ground. So he has a much more diverse skill set, and he is a better ground and pound guy than Vicente Luque. He is engaging more in the clinch compared to Vicente Luque as well. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. So 61% of all the strikes that Luque throws are to the head, 13% to the body, and 26% to the leg. Whereas if we talk about RDA, 58% of all his strikes are to the head, 24% to the body, so he goes to the body more often than Vicente Luque, and 18% to the leg. These guys use leg kicks, but Vicente Luque is a better leg kicker, and he uses leg kicks a lot more in his game compared to RDA. Now let's take a look at the previous performances of these two guys, starting with Vicente Luque. So Vicente, in his last fight, he was KO'd by Jeff Neal in the third round. This fight happened almost an year ago, and since then he's had a brain hemorrhage, and he says that now he is fully recovered, but we'll see how it goes. And before this fight, he lost to Bilal Muhammad as well via unanimous decision. This fight happened in April of last year. It was a 5-rounder fight. Before that, Luque beat Michael Chiesa via submission Darce choke in the first round, and Tyron Woodley via Darce choke again in the first round. Before that, he beat Randy Brown via knockout in the second round, and Nico Price via TKO in the third round. He lost to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But this fight happened in November of 2019. It was a 3-round fight, quite a long time ago. And before that, he beat Mike Perry and Derek Krantz. Now let's take a look at the records of RDA. In his most recent fight, he beat Brian Barberena via neck crack. This happened in the second round. This fight was scheduled to take place at December of last year. Before that, he lost to Rafael Fiziev via knockout in the 5th round, and he beat Renato Moicano via unanimous decision in a 5-round fight. Paul Felder, again a decision, this time a split decision, again in a 5-round fight. So he has experience going full 5 rounds against a lot of good guys in the division. Before that, he lost to Michael Chiesa via unanimous decision, and if you see Michael Chiesa, you will find it here in Vicente Luque's record, and Vicente actually has a win over Michael Chiesa, whereas RDA lost to Michael Chiesa. Before that, RDA lost to the reigning welterweight champion Leon Edwards in a 5-round fight, and before that he beat Kevin Lee via submission arm triangle choke in the 4th round. This was Kevin Lee's welterweight debut, and before that he lost to Kamaru Usman via unanimous decision. So a lot of big names on the record of RDA as well as Vicente Luque. It's a close fight. We have seen the stats in the striking department. Both guys are pretty even. The offensive striking part favors Vicente Luque, whereas the defensive striking part favors RDA. RDA is the better wrestler. However, his takedown accuracy is not that good. And if you talk about the takedown defense, both these guys are pretty even, but a very slight advantage goes to Vicente Luque. And in the submission part, again, both these guys were pretty close, but a slight advantage again goes to Vicente Luque. Also keep in mind that Vicente is the younger fighter. RDA is going to be 40 next year, so he is pretty old, and this is the welterweight division. This is not the heavyweight division or the light heavyweight division where you can be at the top of your game when you are 40. So for these reasons, if I have to pick a fighter, I'm going with Vicente Luque. I think he should win this fight. He is the younger fighter and he just needs to stop the takedowns of RDA and not, give in to the punches of RDA. I think he should get it done. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.